Hello and welcome to the first RacingBet preview of the 2021-2022 racing season. Finally, we have some good horses returning to the track after a few weeks of just winter horses going round and round. I'm your host, Tim Geers, joined by Trent Crebbin, ready to kick off another season ahead. This episode is brought to you by PlayUp.com.au. We're racing at Randwick and Flemington headquarters in both Sydney and Melbourne this weekend. And looking forward to seeing the good horses back. Trent, how's things? You're back in lockdown again.
Yep, seems to be the theme. We'll go into lockdown. At least we've got racing continuing. Like I said, at Randwick as well, where they can only race at the moment. I don't think they can race at Rose Hill, so we might be at Randwick for most weeks in the near future. And like you said, back at Flemington. It's almost the unofficial start of spring, isn't it, with the Aurie Star and a couple of good horses starting to trickle back into the races.
Yeah, and it's amazing to think that we're only, I think, two weeks away from a Group 1. The first Group 1 of the season, I think, is the Winx Stakes in Sydney. I think it's on the 21st of August. Could be wrong. We're definitely on the 28th. 2 weeks away from the first Group 1 of the season. It doesn't feel like it. But thankfully, we're back racing on firm ground at Randwick this weekend. Headlined by the Rosebud and the Group 2 Missile Stakes, and at Flemington, you're headlined by the Group 3 Aurie Star Handicap. What's the track going to be like, and how's the overall card shaping up?
Yeah, so currently a soft 5 at Flemington. Fairly good drying conditions. I wouldn't be surprised if we are into a good 4 come Saturday. It should play really nice. They should be a perfect surface, as is typical with Flemington. Track should play fine. So, yeah, look, if you find something you like, I'd be definitely be able to back it with confidence, I think.
Yeah, well, I mean, I know I said at the start of the show that the good horses are back and spring's a little bit in the air, but I can't remember the last time I was this uninspired for a Randwick program. There's just race after race of multiple Waller runners, horses resuming, and I think the last 3 weeks of the season, it's probably reflective of the results too, but the last couple of weeks of the season, of the last season, as well as the first couple of weeks of the new season, I find the trickiest all year, because the end of the last season, you've got the winter horses just going round and round. And then the first couple of weeks of this season, you have horses resuming. And it's really hard to tell this time of year which horses are set to win first up, which horses are just, needing the runs to peak for later on in the spring. I find this period really tricky. What do you reckon about that?
Yeah, it definitely can be. You've got to weigh up sometimes whether the better horses are going to be fit enough to take on some of these horses, potentially coming off wet tracks as well and converting them to dry track form. So it can be very tricky. I think it's a period where you've got to do quite a bit of work, potentially watching a few more jump outs or trials than I may normally do, which can be horrible in Melbourne with the jump out system that they have. But it can definitely be very tricky, and hopefully we can find a few winners.
Yeah, good point you make about going from heavy to good, which is exactly what we do in Sydney this week at Randwick. I think 2 weeks ago at Randwick or Rose Hill, whichever one we're at, was a heavy 8. Coming now into probably what's going to be a good 4, good 3 at Randwick on Saturday. Can be tough to do. So I take your point about watching a lot of trials and doing extra work. I also think it's probably a decent idea to kind of be a little bit more conservative with your betting, or at least I'm going to be, because like what I've found in the last couple of weeks is I would bet normally, but I just find the races so tough, and you just end up losing in those kind of ordinary races. And like I said, this time of year, with you're unsure about what horses are like resuming, I think it's a pretty good idea just to be a little bit more conservative. So that's what I'll be doing on Saturday. I hope it works out. Anyway, we'll be taking you through our best bets for Randwick and Flemington. As I said, headlined by the Missile Stakes in Sydney and the Group 3 Aurie Star Handicap in Melbourne. We'll kick off with me this week, because we're going to get to the Aurie Star later on, Trent, where your best value bet comes up. My best bet in Randwick is a horse you're going to be familiar with, Trent, and I'm hoping you can shed a little bit of insight here for me. Race 4 at Randwick, horse number 9, Love Planet, for Chris Waller and James McDonald. One of these really sticky races with multiple Waller runners, and I can see this really backfiring and hitting me straight back in the face. But I'm just going to go down the line of thought that I think Love Planet is potentially the best horse in the race. He's had 4 starts for 3 wins. He resumed in Melbourne with a workmanlike win, first up at Sandown over 1,400 metres on wet ground. He went into that without a public trial. He's now come to Sydney. He's trialled really nicely, albeit in a trial full of Waller runners where all of them were under a stranglehold, and he meets a couple of those horses out of that same trial here in the form of Re-Edit and Great House. But J-Mac goes on. That's a positive sign. I think he comes across from barrier 9 to sit outside the leader, which looks to be Invinciano. I'm just tipping that, like I said, he's a horse on an upward spiral, and I'm tipping him to be the best horse in the race. Trent, can you shed a little bit of light on this horse, Love Planet, for me?
Yeah, I think he is a fairly progressive horse. He's been well respected by the market at most starts he's had. He resumed at Sandown. And I did note that I was kind of wanting to be with him there because I thought his class might get him home, but he was a big drifter in the market, so I stayed out. And I think his class just got him home. He kind of just ground away to the line. I think he will get over a trip in time, so the step up to 1,500 meters is going to suit. And yeah, like you said, he's tried well since. So I think he is the horse you probably want to be taking out of the race and following. And it's just whether the Waller merry-go-round lands on him. But the jockey booking would suggest that it might. So look, I'd probably be with him in this race as well, but it is tricky.
Yeah, and I thought, like, the price at $3.30 at the moment, said to you off air, I could easily
seems fair.
Well, I could see this horse starting $2.50. I could also see this horse drifting to $5 and running last. That's just kind of what you have to deal with in Sydney on a weekly basis. But in any case, the horse I'll be saving on is a stablemate of his, which is horse number 7, Re-Edit. I think first up's your best option with this horse. It's got a good first up record, 6 starts, 2 wins, 2 second placings. Bowman's booked. It won that trial that I was referring to with the likes of Love Planet and Great House alongside him. Alongside her, I should say. I thought she's primed to run well here, first up 1,500 metres, and ran well first up in Melbourne last preparation and should have won first up 2 preps ago. So with the good draw here, I'll be saving on her at around $6.50 or $7. And now that I've said all that, you know what's going to happen. Great House is going to come out and win this because it was the most odd run last start, 1,800 metres. It looked like it was completely gone at the 400. It was under the stick and going backwards. And then it kind of came again through the line, which suggested to me that maybe it was looking for a step up in distance. But no, they've dropped it from 1,800 to 1,500 metres, back onto good ground. Wide draw, apprentice on. Who knows what is going to happen with this horse? I have absolutely no idea. I could see this thing being 850 into 550 and winning by 2. I could see this thing being 850 out to 15 and running last. Honestly, have no idea. But I'm just going to lay my hat on the fact that Love Planet is a progressive horse, best horse in the race. J-Mac booked, and hoping that's enough to get us across the line. Anyway, hopefully you can fill our viewers with a little bit more confidence than what I have, because I'd probably just confuse them a whole lot. Trent, your best bet of the day at Flemington. Once again, last race of the day. I said last week, this is a tactic that works well for you. And week after week, you keep delivering in the last race. Last week, it was Imperial Lad, $9 into 550 at the jump, got the money at the Valley. This week, race 9, number 7, Grinzinger Ali at $5, and number 13, Diaguila. We're going to go with that. Diaguila, I'll let you pronounce it a little bit better. $4.60. 2-horse play, you think one of those gets the money?
Yeah, bless Imperial Lad for kicking back and winning that photo. We needed that at the Valley. Moving on to Flemington. Look, I think you can back both here. I think they're both a good price, and I think one of the two definitely wins. I'll start with Grinzinger Ali. I liked his run first up at Caulfield. He got back. He was well backed there as well. I thought he might need the run, but he was well backed. He got back in the field. He was running on really well. Like his 6 to the 400 meter split was the second fastest of the race. His 4 to the 2 was the fastest of the race. And then I think fitness just probably got him a little bit late. He kind of faded a touch late when presenting. I think he's going to come on from that very nicely. He did a similar sort of thing last prep. He hit the line well first up, just missing, and then he ran second up in a really fast run race, and he managed to get over the top of them, over the top of Funraiser and another couple of handy horses in that race. I think that form stacked up quite well. Draws barrier 4 here, gets to Flemington, which I like. Slight step up in trip as well to the mile. Jamie Carr sticks. I think there's a lot in his favour, and he's going to run really well. I'd be really keen to bet up on him here, but there's just a horse that just scares me a little bit here, who are going to be backing as well. 13, Diagula. That's what we'll roll with. He was first up off 78 weeks. No one really knew what to do with him at Sandown first up, and he was very good. It started $16, sat behind them, showed a really nice turn of foot, and won by 2.5 lengths over King Magnus. Now that horse has come out and won a couple of races since. Did win that race that Grinzinger Ali was in as well. So the form ties in there. I think King Magnus has won an open handicap since as well. So I think that's probably the form line you want to be with. Gets down in the weights here, and he's only had 5 career starts, he's won 3 of them, so there's probably a bit more to come as well. So I think you can back both of them. One of them will be winning, and hopefully we can get a good result out of them.
Yeah, well, if the last race turns out to be anything like you've done in the past couple of weeks and months for that matter, we'll be ending the day on a good note, and we might need it after Randwick, because like I said, this program's a tricky one, and this will tell you exactly how tricky it is, because I'm sure last week I tweeted, I will never bet in highways or midways ever again in Sydney. And here I am this week with my best value bet of the day coming up in the midway. Race 5 on the card. I somehow landed on this as my best value. Race 5, number 10, Savvy Crown. I missed the early price, but I think the 750 or 850 available, still a decent each way bet. It's an open race. All of these races are open. They're complete lotteries. Wouldn't have a clue, but there's just a few boxes that are ticked by this horse. He won a race first up, I think it was at Muswellbrook. He then came to a similar race this second up. He was only narrowly beaten on that occasion. If you look at his third up record, he's 2 from 2, undefeated. So he's set to peak here. Gets a good draw, and I think he finds a winnable race if he turns up anywhere near his best form. So I thought at 750 or 850 was a little bit over the odds. So I've made him my best value bet of the day. Race 5, number 10, Savvy Crown, with not a lot of confidence. I can't tell you it's definitely going to win, but I'm hoping he runs into the money for us. Trent, hopefully you can fill us with a little bit more confidence with your best value bet of the day, despite it being $67. Mine's $8.50. I've got no confidence. Yours is $67. And you're normally bullish when you throw up these kinds of horses, but it comes up in the feature of the day. It's a good little segue into the Aurie Star Handicap. This is race number 8 on the card at Flemington. You're tipping horse number 7, Tactical Advantage, $67.
Yeah, I am, and I'm not super confident, but the only time to back this horse is third up. He's got a really good third up record, and I've backed him third up a couple of times before and got some big results out of him. So I'm gonna try and do it again. When he's third up, he's had 7 starts for 4 wins. So it's clearly when he peaks. Look, he comes out of the John Monash Stakes where I thought he was probably a touch plain. He wasn't in the best part there, kind of got back along the inside and just battled home. But I like him at Flemington. He has won here before. He draws out wide. Barrier 12 is really going to suit. He's just going to get back and get to the outer lanes. Craig Newitt sticks, who's riding roughies left, right, and centre. I don't think there's a more informed jockey in Melbourne at the moment. He just keeps riding long price winners at Saturday meetings. So happy to have him on. Look, it's a really open race. You could make a case for almost anything in the field. And it's, the betting reflects that it's $5 plus the field. So it is a tricky one, but I'm going to have something small each way on Tactical Advantage with that third up record. And I think he gets to the right part of the track and can run on well. So not super confident, but yeah, something small at the big price.
Okay, and the Aurie Star Handicap is this week's race for the hat competition. I think we had another dead heat last weekend, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, I'm thunderstruck.
Yeah, I'm thunderstruck.
One by
half a length. Yeah. So we just keep dishing out these hats, and you got your chance to win another one this week. So head to the RacingBet Twitter page. I think it's race 8 at Flemington is the one you're looking for. Just find the post about the hat competition, free to enter, and give us your prediction and the winning margin. And whoever lands closest to the winner with the correct margin will earn themselves a RacingBet hat. I'll send it out to you in the post. Okay, the feature at Randwick, I should say, is the Group 2 Missile Stakes. Race 7 on the card, another tricky little affair. Headed by the market is Fasika. I think she's around a $2.60 chance. Look, she looks to get her chance. She's got a dynamite first up record, 3 wins from 5 starts. She draws the inside barrier. She's just going to jump and run to the lead. She's going to be tough to catch, but at the prices, I'm going to side with what I think is the best horse in the race, and that's the Group 1 horse in the race, Colding. Has to carry top weight, has to give 2.5 kilos to the rest of the field. But J-Mac goes on first up for Chris Waller. He's had a couple of trials to get him ready. Whether he's sharp enough first up at 1,200 metres is the issue, but I look at this field and he's the only horse in the field that is a legitimate Group 1 horse. So he gets conditions to suit and he does his best racing on firm ground, the Sydney way of going. So he's going to get that on Saturday at Randwick. I think first up last preparation, he ran second to Sabatiano. So that's a decent form line. And I thought if he turned up anywhere near his best, he was going to be awfully hard to beat. I would think he probably, and I hope he comes across from his wide gate to sit outside the lead, show a little bit of intent. And at the prices, I was pretty happy to be with him over the likes of Fasika, who's currently, 6 to 4, $2.50, $2.60. So that's the way I've gone in the Group 2 Missile Stakes at Randwick. We'll have Randwick, Flemington and Belmont covered every single race on RacingBet.com.au. Hopefully we find some winners for you. As I said, we might just have to keep our powder dry a little bit in the next couple of weeks leading into the Group 1 races where there's exposed form, reliable form, fit horses, reliable tracks, and then we can start kind of getting into the betting. Trent, any other final thoughts before we sign off for another week?
Nope, that absolutely covers it all. Jump on the Twitter, win yourself a hat. If you can pick the winner of that Aurie Star, you've done well because it's very tough, but good luck to you all. All
right. Thanks to PlayUp for sponsoring this week's episode. We'll be back to do it all again next week. This Saturday. Trent, anything else before we sign off?
I think that just about covers us. Get on the RacingBet Twitter, win yourself a hat, and hopefully Villamai salutes in the feature.
Okay, best of luck this weekend, everyone. Thanks to PlayUp for sponsoring this week's episode, and we'll catch you all again next week.